what's up everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today, as you can see, I'm back at you with another laptop review, and this time I'm checking out the ASUS TUF Dash F15, which sounds like a jet fighter plane or something like that, right? And it kinda is, in terms of PC power and performance, right? So it's a proper Intel i7 11370H CPU combined with a RTX3070, which is pretty nuts. Now I'm gonna run benchmarks like Cinebench and Cyberpunk 2077, right, to see how it fares in all different situations with ray tracing, with DLSS and off, and it should be pretty interesting, right? I'm gonna leave my Amazon affiliate link down below in the description section, so you can buy it through that if you wish to do so, and I'm gonna leave a small ASUS product information link down below as well, so if I miss out something, just check out their product page and see if this laptop is for you or not, right? But how was it for me? Did I like it? What actually did I like about it, and what did I not like about it? And what's my final score, right? So if you're interested in that, let's get into it. So first of all, right, the specifications, well, it does come in around 1900 euros here in East Europe. Maybe you can get it a little bit cheaper on Amazon or something like that. And yeah, of course, it is a pretty beefy laptop here with the 3070. But yeah, the exact specifications, right, as I mentioned, Intel Core i7 11370H. It has 4 cores, 8 threads, which is nothing too special, but it is a proper 3.3 GHz CPU that does boost up to 4.8 GHz when gaming. And of course, for the video card, this model here does use the NVIDIA RTX3070, which as you will later see on the benchmarking section, or in the benchmarking section, is that it's one beast of a card, especially thanks to the stuff like DLSS and ray tracing support. Now for the memory, my model here has a total of 16 gigabytes of DDR4, but if we open up the Dash F15, we can see that it only has one memory slot. So this exact model here that I have has 8 gigabytes built on board and another 8 gigabytes stick in the DIMM slot. You can of course upgrade it by adding up to 32 gigabytes into the DIMM slot here. And quickly looking below the DIMM slot, we do find a decent 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe SSD, and also an extra M.2 slot for further expansion. Now the biggest thing about this laptop, actually the biggest thing about this laptop, well, actually not the biggest thing, I mean, coming in at 15.6 inches for the LCD screen, nothing too major for a laptop, right? But it is a pretty decent size still. It is freaking insane. This screen is insane. Why? Well, of course, it has 240 Hz refresh rate, which is mind-boggling when you do gaming like when you play games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, right? Which we're gonna check out in the benchmarking section, so stick around. It is 3 millisecond response time, which is absolutely insane. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is that it's not a TN panel. It's a full IPS panel with 100% sRGB. The colors are freaking insane. So whether you're playing games or watching movies or editing photos or videos, the picture quality is freaking insane. At 240 Hz, it's just butter smooth experience, and it just looks freaking amazing. So anyone who likes to play competitive games on a laptop is gonna be pretty blown away by this thing. And yeah, coming to the overall design of the laptop, of the Dash F15 here, I mean, it's pretty well designed. I mean, nothing too special, but it does look pretty solid. Personally, I don't really fancy the white theme here, so I'd go with a black version, but it still looks decent overall for a TUF laptop. For connectivity, we do find an HDMI 2.0B. Yes, sadly not a single HDMI 2.1 to hook up your 120 Hz OLED TVs or something. An odd decision, to be honest, as all the desktop 3000 series cards do have HDMI 2.1 support. Now, we do also find a total of 3 USB Type-A boards and a single USB Type-C with Thunderbolt 4 technology. There's also a LAN board and a 3.5mm audio jack even. And yeah, if we dim the lights, we do see that the Dash F15 has a backlit keyboard, which sadly is not RGB. No idea why. Maybe the RGB LEDs were too expensive. Who knows, right? Now, what I do like more about this thing is that it is pretty light and thin. It's just 19.9mm thick and weighs in at just 2 kilograms. That is pretty sweet considering this is a full-on gaming laptop. Now, quickly covering the battery life, ASUS state that it holds up to 16.6 hours, which I guess you can do if you dim down the screen brightness, go 60 Hz, use the Intel integrated GPU and so on. But for regular use and not messing with those things that much, just medium dim display, I got around 1 hour of battery life while gaming. Of course, everything was capped at 30 FPS to further help to sustain the battery life there, but 1 hour, which is pretty typical nowadays, right? And around 4 hours of just watching 4K YouTube video non-stop. So that's the battery life for you guys. The noise levels are, well, in the acceptable range. Not too much when just using the web and expected amount when playing. But the cooling is pretty darn good for a laptop. More on that in the benchmarking section, of course. So, I mean, overall for around 1700 to 2000 euro range, it's a pretty decent bang for buck so far. But how well does it fare in different games? How does it perform in Cinebench, right? What are the idle temperatures and temperatures when we are gaming, right? So those things taking into consideration, because I've already done them, it's gonna be a pretty good bang for buck. But how good exactly? Let's check out. So, welcome to the benchmarking section of the ASUS TUF Dash F15, which sounds like a fighter jet plane which just flew over my head here, and hopefully we're not at war with anyone. So, first of all, as you can see, I have CPUs up and running, I have core temp to check the temperatures for the CPU, and GPUs with the GPU's temperatures here. As you can see, this is the Core i7, right, T11370H. 370H, hey, didn't it went missing? Anyway, 3.3 gigahertz, which is pretty nice, and it boosts up to 4.8 gigahertz while gaming, which is pretty good. Now, 4 cores, 8 threads, really good for any kind of gaming. Would have loved to see 6 cores and 12 threads, but 4 cores, 8 is totally fine in my opinion. And as we can see, temperatures at the moment just hovering at 35 degrees Celsius, while my room temperatures is really warm. It's 23 degrees Celsius at the moment in my room here, which is really warm. And can you hear the laptop? I certainly can't. It's really super quiet and really cool. So really nice job there. Moving on to the video card, right, it has the RTX3070 in it here, and it, as we can see, the temperature at the moment is 40.9, hovering around 41 degrees Celsius. Insane, absolutely quiet, and of course it goes even quieter if we unblock the power cable, and it's even more quieter now. So went to silent mode, and we can use the Intel integrated GPU now to further enhance our battery life, which is pretty nice. But anyway, let's kick things off with our first gaming benchmark, and let's check how it performs in Cyberpunk 2077. Right, so welcome to Cyberpunk 2077, and hopefully you guys can see the frame rate counter here. I don't know, maybe Nvidia will update it so I can make it bigger, right? Customize the frame rate counter, but it's 46 to 47 frames per second. and it's looking really sharp on 1080p because it's, you know, just such a small screen, right? It looks like 4K on a bigger screen pretty much. But anyway, 1080p, super nice, super clean, look so sharp, right? So the bigger the screen, the unsharper this image will be at 1080p, right? But this is a perfect screen size for 1080p, and it's a 240 Hz screen, which is insane. 100% sRGB, insane colors popping out. Absolutely adore it. 3 millisecond response time, just insane. Anyway, 44 frames per second at the moment. And as we can see in graphical settings in video, right, 1080p screen resolution, and everything on the most maximum detail as possible, without ray tracing, without DLSS, right? So 45 to 46, right? Now let's turn on ray tracing. Of course, we can select, you know, is ray tracing on low detail, medium, ultra, or psycho, right? But we're gonna just leave it at psycho. You can switch around it when you actually buy this laptop, right? To try to maybe get a little bit better frame rate. But let's leave it at psycho, right? Ray traced reflection, everything to most maximums. This is the most maximum ray tracing quality possible. And 24. It's a slideshow. Slideshow Bob. Nothing really amazing, right? You can't really play this, right? And does the image look so that much better? I mean, in my opinion, nothing really that much changed, right? So expect 23 frames per second, but wait, there's more. What happens if we actually use the DLSS, which some few games use, right? But you only can use this if you have an RTX video card, and the RTX3070 series further improves performance of DLSS. So let's put it at ultra performance. So pretty much what it does is take the 1080p resolution and downscale it to, like, I don't know, like from 1080p I guess to 480p or something like that. But it does a better job than just selecting 480p, right? So ultra performance and 48. So as without ray tracing, without DLSS, but right now we have ray tracing turned to the most maximum, and we get 46, which is pretty fine, and we can actually play. It's totally fine to play. And now you pretty much can enjoy Cyberpunk 2077 on this laptop on the most maximum possible detail possible with ray tracing at a decent frame rate, right? 46, 47 frame. And to tell you guys, I can't really see the resolution dip that much. I mean, it's not as sharp as without DLSS, but it's still really, really good if you fancy ray tracing, right? So what we can do more, you know, we can play around with the DLSS. We can actually, let's take ray tracing off. So without DLSS we had 47, right? With DLSS 65. So ultra performance DLSS. This is how I played through Cyberpunk myself on ultra performance DLSS, and yeah, I mean the image quality wasn't as sharp as just without DLSS, but it's really close there. I'd say it's like 20 to 30% blurrier than just native 4K or native 1080p, right? But I mean, yeah, you have to see it for yourself, but it doesn't really matter that much. So this is how it performs in Cyberpunk 2077. Let's move on to the next benchmark. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Let's run Cinebench R23 as well here and compare how this exact laptop compares to the rest of the field here. So Cinebench just finished both multi-core and single-core benchmark here for me. And as we can see, the single-core is 1505 points, while the multi-core is 6890 points. So when we compare the single-core performance, it's faster than a desktop 7700K, which, if you remember correctly, was a bloody fast CPU, both multi-core and single-core, right? So it's amazing performance for a laptop for a single-core. Now let's check the multi-core as well here. So we have 6890 points, which is faster than the 7700K. Absolutely amazing job here. Amazing CPU for a laptop, and you know, a little bit lower than the Ryzen 7 1700X, right? But they're in games, I'd say they're about the same, right? Of course, yeah, Ryzen 7 has more cores and more threads, but it's AMD, so it's a little bit different, right? But yeah, still pretty decent result for 4 cores, 8 threads, right? So yeah, really nice performance. It's actually amazing performance for 4 cores, right? It's not 6 cores or 8 cores, right? Like Ryzen 7, right? So yeah, amazing results. All right, on to the next test. So welcome to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where we're gonna run the benchmark here. But first, let's head into the options, right? 1080p, right? No resolution scale or stuff like that. In graphical settings, let's leave anti-aliasing on low. We can't turn it off for whatever reason. Why can't we turn off anti-aliasing? I don't know. So ultra high, pretty much every graphical detail as maximum as possible here. And as we can see, yeah, we are running the 3070 rate, and I'm using the 461.40 drivers today here. All right, so 60 frames per second here. Averaging around 60, I guess, right? We can see Shadow Blade, which is a little bit better maybe to watch, but it's so small, it's so hard to make out. 53, 60 frames per second. I mean, it's pretty fine. It's pretty fine for a laptop, right? 1080p screen, everything to the most maximum detail. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Of course, this is not 4K resolution, which would have been a little bit more amazing, right? But I guess this video card could actually get decent frame rate from 4K as well, right? So if you hook up a 4K screen into this laptop, right, you can still use 4K, right? So that's pretty neat. But let's see. Let's wait until the benchmark finishes and see what the final score is gonna be. That's yeah. So far, so good. We can actually see the temperature here if you notice. 71 degrees Celsius, 72. That's pretty interesting. That's not hot at all. Considering most gaming laptops nowadays are like 90 to 100. It's 72. That's insane. It's not even hot. Okay, it's hot here, but it's not really hot here. Anyway, 62 frames per second. So also, as you can hear, hopefully you can hear how much noise does the laptop make, right, when playing games, and it's decent, it's reasonable, nothing too quiet, right, but definitely nothing too loud. So 62 frames average, fine with me, right? Not 240, but of course we can turn down the resolution scaling, right, a little bit to get better performance, maybe even use lower resolution if you wish, and put everything to the lowest settings. Maybe you can get 240 frames per second to fully utilize 240 Hz. Anyway, let's move on to the next benchmark. Right, so welcome to Call of Duty Warzone, and yeah, before we begin, first of all, right, graphical settings. So we are using our beautiful 240 Hz screen here, but yeah, 1080p resolution and everything turned to the most highest detail settings as possible. And of course, we are indeed using ray tracing as well, so it should be pretty interesting to see how it performs. Ray tracing doesn't seem to affect the performance at all in Call of Duty Warzone, which is kind of odd, but yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave it on, so let's do some benchmarking. Alright, so made it to the place where I actually record my frame rate counter for Warzone, and as you can see, 77 frames per second on top of this building here. And if we switch corners here, look at this place, kind of hard to see for you guys, 70 frames per second. And right over here, we get around 72. Almost the same, right? And yeah, I mean, totally fine to play some Warzone on this laptop on most maximum detail. So you can see better 67 to 70 here, right? On maximum detail, 1080p and ray tracing turned on. So definitely you can, take everything to the lowest setting, maybe use some resolution scaling and, get as high as 144 frames per second to use 144 hertz, right? Or even maybe somehow get near that 240 FPS, but I doubt it. Anyway, need to take down this guy here. Easy game. Alright, yeah, that's about it for Call of Duty Warzone. Anyway, let's quickly head into Counter-Strike Global Offensive as well and see, can we get 240 FPS there to fully utilize this screen? So, and how it is to play, right? So let's check that out. Alright, so welcome to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and in this session here, we are gonna be actually using 720p. Now, on this such a small screen, 720p should be still pretty sharp, and everything on the lowest detail. Because the only idea for me to actually test Counter-Strike Global Offensive for this video here is to see how much can we get from this laptop in terms of frame rate. Can we actually fully utilize this screen, 240 Hertz? That's the main question. And if anyone is gonna be using or fully utilizing 240 Hertz, they wanna play something competitive like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So let's hit play and let's take the Dust 2 and see how it goes. Alright, so, oh my god. I don't know how well you can see. 225 frames per second. That's, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Of course, you can't really actually make it out as the video on YouTube is 30 FPS, but look at it. Fuck. Okay, I'm not that good. 200 plus frames per second. God, come on. Please let me live. I need to record this video. It might dip here and there to around 160 or 180, but yeah, stays around 200 frames per second, right? Where did that guy go? Anyway, this is how it performs in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So it is kinda possible to get, oh my god, it is kinda possible to get around 200 frames per second, right? Maybe not 240 plus all the time, right? But it is a small laptop, right? So, I mean, it's just, I mean, everything over 144 is a big plus already, right? Not many people can play at refresh rates like this. So, at the moment, 222 frames per second, that means we get 222 Hertz, which is a lot better than 144, right? So, anyway, this is how it performs here. Now, let's quit the game and let's see what the temperatures actually did. What were the maximum temperatures for this laptop? Alright, so now that all of the benchmarks have concluded, let's take a look at the temperatures. So, first of all, the CPU. Maximum temperatures did not peak over, well, 85, 88. Okay, one peaked at 93. But definitely a lot less than 100 degrees, which is kind of the standard at the moment for gaming laptops. But this thing here, the TUF Dash F15, 80s, pretty much 80s, right? And video card, let's see, 49 at the moment. We just quit our game, so it's a little bit harder than it was in idle before. Maximum 74. I mean, that's absolute, that's like desktop GPU temperature. Absolutely insane. 74 was maximum temperature. That's nice. That's freaking insane. I love it. Anyway, these have been the benchmarking session for the Dash F15. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So now that you've seen how it performs in all sorts of games and benchmarks, I mean, yeah, it is a pretty decent laptop for 1700 to 2000 euros, depending on, what setup do you take. Do you take more memory? Do you take a bigger SSD, etc., right? But yeah, overall, I personally go with the black version. The only thing that I couldn't find an answer was why isn't there an RGB backlit keyboard, right? If they wish to use just one color team, that's fine by me, but don't lock it up, right? Like this, right? We could always go into the ASUS Aura sync app, right? And if we don't like the white team, we could, optionally change it to RGB at least, right? But there's no option at all right now. And yeah, I mean, why? Are the RGB backlit LEDs so much more expensive? I don't think so. So overall, my final verdict is still going to be a pretty decent 9 out of 10. I mean, it's a really well built laptop. If you take into account the cooling performance and the performance in games and the lightness, it's just 2 kilograms for such a powerhouse. Like really good single core performance, right? Really good performance in games as well, in my opinion, and as you could see from the benchmarks. And of course, thanks to the RTX video card, we can use stuff like ray tracing and DLSS. So yeah, overall a really well built TUF laptop here. Just maybe the design could have been a little bit better, a little bit more high quality, but maybe the price would have been higher, I don't know. And RGB, backlit, keyboard, where is it? Anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys soon, and if you have any comments, leave them down below in the comment section. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you guys soon, ciao for now.